The first thing we're going to look at in this tutorial is how to speed up or slow down your picture. So I've got this clip here. I'll let it play through. It's a picture of a builder slowly adding bricks to this line of a house. You can see there. If I want to make that twice the speed, I would double click on it on the timeline, click into the motion tab and go down to speed. Now here speed is 100. If I want to increase the speed, I increase the number. So double the speed would be 200. And you can see the clip shrinks. I didn't select the audio, so it's only affected the picture. I wouldn't want to select the audio, otherwise it would sound really strange. If you play that back, you can see he does it slightly quicker. Now if you want this effect to really be effective, you would want to speed it up a lot more than that. So if we change the speed to 1000, you can see it gets much shorter, and if you watch it now, it's got almost a time-lapse effect to it. Okay, so say I actually wanted to make that slow motion. I'm just going to get that clip again. So we'll just have the end bit this time. So say I actually want to slow down this sequence, we would decrease the number. So if you double click, click into the motion tab, and we go for, let's go for 30. You can see that the clip increases, and then you can see he's now building in slow motion. You can also do the same thing by right clicking on the clip and going to change speed. Here you've got the extra option of choosing to play the clip backwards. So if you click reverse, you can now see that it's in slow motion, but it's also happening backwards. The next thing I want to show you is how to crop an image. So if you go up to, you see these three tabs in the canvas window. If you click on this far right one, you've got a few options. Image, image and wireframe, and wireframe. You can see that my image and wireframe is ticked. If yours isn't, you need to click on it, and you will get this wireframe that appears on the screen here. Now, so that we can see a little bit better, I'm going to reduce this to 12% so I can see the edges of the frame. You can just click and drag to stretch your image in either direction. You wouldn't want to do this too much because it degrades the quality of the picture the further you zoom in, but a tiny tweak can sometimes be useful. The next thing I'd like to show you is how to make a freeze frame. So if you select another clip and you mark any point on it that you might want to freeze the motion, and you need to put an in and an out next to each other in the viewer window. If you now click modify and make freeze frame, you can see in this window your freeze frame has appeared. If you scroll across this, it's exactly the same all the way across, and you can now insert that into your timeline as a still picture. If you wanted to zoom in, and this is a useful technique for photographs when you're working with still images to make them a little bit more dynamic, double click and you can see that it's loaded into the viewer window because you can see that all these little dots have appeared across the bottom. Now you want to click on the motion tab, but here we can't really see much of what we're doing. So if you drag it down and let it go by the sequence tabs, we can see the whole motion tab here. Now we want to change the scale. That's how we're going to slowly zoom into the picture. And this is all about keyframes. So keyframes select specific frames on the timeline as pointers to work with so that we can make motion happen. So to explain that, this highlighted area here is the picture that you're working with. And to add a keyframe, you would click one of these round circles. You can see it says insert or delete keyframe. If you click it again, it will delete it. So if we put a keyframe on the scale tab at the start of the picture, and then we move towards the end of the picture and insert another keyframe, this second keyframe we're going to change the value of. If you increase the scale, you can see it zooming in the right hand side. And then if we play that back, it will move from the original key point, from the original keyframe set at the scale it was initially, through to the closer picture, and you've created a zoom. So I'll play that back for you. It's very slowly zooming in. So it depends how far apart these two keyframes are as to how quickly the zoom will happen. You can see there it's very gradual. If I delete that keyframe and move it closer and do the same thing, increase the scale, and then we watch it back, you can see that that happens much quicker. You can make that movement smoother by right-clicking on the green dot and selecting smooth. This is an automatic function which will smooth out that movement. So if we play it back now, you should see it's slightly smoother. Now you can also affect the scale with the wire and keyframe feature we looked at earlier. So if I press the X, I can remove all the keyframes from here. If I put a keyframe at the start and a keyframe towards the end again, I can, as long as this keyframe is selected, and you can see because the green dot is in it, if we click off it, you can see the green dot disappears, but if I put it back on the keyframe, you can see it comes back. So it needs to be green to know you're working on it. If we change the scale here, like we did before, just stretch the picture using the image and wireframe, it does exactly the same thing. You can see if we play it back, it'll start to slowly zoom in between those 2 points. Instead of zooming in by just increasing the scale, I might want to zoom in to a specific point in the picture. So I would add a keyframe on the scale parameter, but I would also need to add a keyframe on the center parameter. So I would like my picture to start with the center where it is, but say I would like to zoom into a certain point, I would add another keyframe at the point I want it to reach. I would zoom in, and then I would just click and drag, and you can see that these purple dots, this stretchy line of purple dots appears. This is the motion that you're creating, so you can put that anywhere that you'd like to zoom in. So to make this framed nicely, perhaps I would want to pull it down a little bit so it zooms into the builders directly. So now you can see, if I play that back, instead of just zooming in, it will zoom in to the point that you've chosen. The final thing I'd like to show you is how to use the Matchframe feature. Say I have got this clip here, and I've got lots and lots of footage up in this project window, loads of files that I've imported, but I really want to find this part again. Put the cursor over the clip somewhere and press F on the keyboard, and it will pull up the exact in and out that you chose before.